Hello, welcome to the Analyst Inside Cricket with me, Simon Hughes.
And me, Simon Mann.
And we're joined by Deep Dasgupta, the former Indian wicketkeeper and batsman and current commentator. You look quite smiley, Deep, actually. But, I mean, wow, we've seen the most amazing game of cricket today. Absolutely compelling, riveting, drama every ball, even though actually not many runs were scored. And wickets only came in small, isolated moments of wickets. But England, of course, in the end, winning by 22 runs. A game which swayed backwards and forwards, and India managed to sustain their run chase incredibly into what almost would have been the last hour. I mean, we're here now at 5 to 6, and the game finished about 5 o'clock. They only needed 135 runs, but they managed to eke out those runs, very nearly getting over the line until that final wicket of Siraj bowled. Ball trickling back onto the stumps in slow motion almost, Simon. I mean, a gripping game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things about, well, let's talk about that ball first up. And I mean, a lot of stumps splattered in this game, haven't there? I mean, Harry Brook yesterday had his middle pole knocked out flat on the ground. This one, the ball just had enough to roll back onto the bails. If we'd had zinger bails, would they have fallen off? Okay, that's one question. And the other thing is, well, you talk about, I mean, the last day of the Test match. Look, we had 55 overs today, 112 runs and 6 wickets, and every ball was compelling. I mean, you don't need bang, 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 do you? And lots happening. It was just the state of the game, the tension, the spectators who turned up today, full house. Everyone was involved in kind of every ball, really. They must be exhausted going home tonight.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, the Indians, of course, Deep, were very much dominant in the crowd, a bit like they were at Edgbaston, trying to lift their team. I mean, amazing atmosphere. Not quite like Chennai or the Chinnaswamy Stadium.
Pretty close, though. Pretty close this morning. And I guess with 135, I still thought India were favourites. If not favourites, at least ahead in the game. With 6 wickets in hand, out of those 4 wickets, one was, a tail-ender. So, so that's the reason this morning I was pleasantly surprised to see the Indian fans here in numbers. So, the first half an hour, first 45 minutes, yeah, I mean, wasn't India's first half an hour. Lost a couple of very important wickets, Rishabh Pant, KL Rahul. But, the reason why I still, even though India's ended up on the losing side, but you see that kind of a fight from Bumrah, from Siraj, along with Jadeja. And you feel good because we know this is an Indian Test team which is going through a transition period. It's a young captain, fairly young side. So that's what you want to see. You want to see the fight in them, even though, maybe from a losing cause to a great extent after that first hour. So it's good to see them fighting as hard as they have in the last, session or so.
Well, it's not surprising that you thought India were favourites, actually, because Betfair certainly made them favourites at the start of the day. 68% for India and 32% for England. And when I interviewed a few of the pundits before play, we had 4 supporting India and only 2 supporting England. So I'm just going to play you a quick clip of each of those pundits talking, starting with Aggers, Tuffers, Zoltz. Then we had Jadejwa Pujara, Stuart Broad, and finally we had Sunny Gavaskar, and also actually Harsha Bowling. So there were 7 people in all. Most of them were saying India, as you'll hear. Aggers.
Pant or bust. I'm going England.
Who's going to win, Zoltz?
England, just.
Tuffers.
Yes.
Who is going to win?
Oh, crikey. I've been toing and froing. I think it's India's game to lose. Still got 4 or 5 quality players to get out. I'm just going to go India.
Being a former bowler, I'd back the bowlers to get 6 wickets on that. 135 runs, scouts either side, make boundaries hard to come by. Bang, bang, England.
Harsha, who's going to win?
Why is that even a question? There's only one team. India 2-1 going to Old Trafford.
Sunny, one word. Who's going to win?
Oh, India. Just after lunch.
So, as the game progressed, actually those odds started to sway back towards England, didn't they? Those 2 key wickets. I mean, that delivery of Jofra Archer to Pant, I mean, a fantastic ball, worth the admission money and worth actually the purchase of Archer or the getting him fit for whatever it was, 1,600 days since between Test matches to get him to produce a ball like that.
I thought one of the interesting things, there's a lot of talk about England's batting and the way they play. They play in quite a frivolous way. I mean, the Harry Brook dismissal yesterday. I mean, most of the Indian players, apart from Jaiswal, possibly Bumrah, but you can understand why he played that shot. Most of them had to be prized out, and nearly all of them got really good deliveries, or deliveries that really challenged them, and that was a fabulous delivery. So was the one that got KL Rahul from Ben Stokes that nipped back. And also, the Jofra Archer one against Washington Sundar as well. Decent ball, and Washington Sundar early on, leading edge, brilliant catch by Jofra Archer. So England had to work really hard. I thought India were magnificent today. It is a cliche in sport, isn't it, that neither team deserved to lose this Test match. So little between them. It was a fabulous game of cricket, but someone did, of course, because there was no chance of it being a draw. Someone was going to lose, unless we had a tie on the 6th anniversary of the tie here. But they are so rare. But magnificent India, magnificent England, brilliant 5 days overall.
When did you, Deep, start to lose faith with India today?
After the first hour, follow Washington's wicket, I thought, it's going to be really tough from here on. Because also, kind of the body language, some of the decisions like sending Akashdeep as a night watchman with half an hour to go. Because there is a reason why you have batting till number 8. You have Washington Sundar at number 8. And then you send somebody for half an hour, not 10 minutes, not 5 minutes, for half an hour. You send number 10 to come out and bat or number 9 to come out and bat. I thought that just showed a little defensive frame of mind from India. And looking at, chasing down 193, still a good pitch to bat on. Yes, there are cracks appearing, good bowling side and everything else, but you still back yourself to get those 193. So from then on, I was like, it's still India should win, but wasn't too happy with that mindset.
There was a little bit of a few words spoken to Washington Sundar when he came out today. Maybe, Simon, to do with what he said to you the night before, which is, we're going to win.
Well, it could have been. I was surprised when he said it. He said it twice on the interview, and I didn't say, how do you think, are you definitely going to win this game or anything like that? I just said, how do you see the game? And he said, well, we're going to win this game. And then he said, when we go 2-1 up tomorrow, later in the interview. I don't know whether that was what, caused those words out in the middle. You don't know, because, let's face it, there were a lot of words said out in the middle during the Test match, so it might have been something said in the middle. But I noticed that Brendan McCullum on the balcony, when Washington Sundar came out to bat, he was kind of like getting the England players up. He was kind of as if to say, "Come on, chat to him, get into him." So I don't know whether that there was an element of that. They'd heard what he said, or whether it was something he said on the field. I think in situations like that, when you do those post-match interviews, look, we want them to say something interesting. But probably you're better off saying something like, look, we think we're in a good position, we're pretty confident, let's see how it plays out tomorrow. We think we're in a good position. To say we will win, I think you say we will win when you want 50 to win with 9 wickets left or something like that.
So just to be, he's only young, he's 21, 22. So what you're saying is right. You don't want to sound cocky, you want to sound confident and not cocky. But I guess this is a young Indian side. You've heard a few things from Shubman as well. I think you'd expect them to learn from these things. So I'm not personally won't be too critical about what Washington said, because it could be youth, could be inexperience at this level and speaking to media. But I'll keep it at that. But what was interesting that I think this English side is trying to get under the skin of the young Indian players, because a lot of chat and a lot of it was kind of part of tactics. It seemed like you can rile up this Indian young batters or something like that, because it wasn't spontaneous. It seemed like that. Things happen on the field, right? We all know that. In the heat of the moment, you say something, you hear something, but I thought it was part of tactics to kind of get under the skin and do things like that. Yeah.
You're in the BBC TV box. Are you hearing what the players are saying out on the field? Could you give an example of that? What you might have heard during the game?
Yeah, something like, obviously when you mentioned, we saw the pictures of Brendan asking to kind of have a go at the players and stuff like that. But things like Harry Brook, I heard, came over. I think it was Nitish when he was batting. And he said, you suddenly look very cool with all the tattoos. When we were in SRH, you didn't speak a word and things like that. So you could hear it on Stump mic and stuff.
It's interesting, isn't it, that? Because there's been talk over the last sort of couple of years, actually, that the kind of, if you like, the animosity, the slight aggression on the field has been slightly dissipated because teams, individuals playing with each other in franchise cricket get to know each other from opposition nations and become friends. And I remember there was a great incident here, actually, when England played Australia, and Johnny Bairstow, just behind us here, was run out by Alex Carey, of course, going for a bit of a wander. And he returned into the pavilion afterwards, and one of the people he sort of tried to get some sympathy from was David Warner, who was his colleague at Sunrisers, opening bat and opening partner. And, they got on really well, didn't they? They put on loads of great partnerships. And I know Johnny Bairstow came into the lunchroom absolutely fuming from that decision and that being run out, and looked over at Warner for some sympathy and bent sort of, well, are you happy about that? And Warner apparently said, yes, I am. And all the Australians sort of pissed themselves laughing. So, there is the tension between teams has been slightly affected by the fact they play together in franchise cricket. And perhaps England were trying to up the ante and counteract that.
Well, that certainly happened in this game, didn't it? I don't remember a test match with so much overt chat in recent years. I mean, you can remember some acrimonious games in the past, perhaps an England test match in Sri Lanka, a while back when there were some horrendous decisions and that got everyone worked up. But, yeah, I mean, there was a lot going on during this test match. And it probably would have been just great actually to get the Stump mic transitions and publish them all, just to see the sort of things that are being said out on the field. I mean, long gone are the days of what was said out on the field stays on the field, kind of where people are sort of eavesdropping in now, and you actually see it on social media. I think I saw that comment about the Sunrisers comment from Harry Brook on social media. Someone's picked it up and put it out there. It should not, all this chat and everything, it should not detract from just a wonderful sort of like tense arm wrestle of a game of cricket.
No, absolutely. And of course, the nice thing is, even though they might be saying things to each other, and that's always happened in cricket, hasn't it, Deep? We've always had a go at someone, even though he's your best mate. I mean, I beamed a player once who was my housemate in Australian cricket. I deliberately bowled him a beamer, Dermot Reed. So, it happens on the cricket field. But I love the fact that at the end, and we're jumping ahead here, at the end, there was embraces, there was that sort of Brett Lee, Andrew Flintoff moment at the end with Siraj and Brook and Stokes and others, going round and Root, basically putting an arm round Siraj and saying, what a fantastic effort. We're jumping ahead. Let's just reflect on the rest of that innings. So we mentioned Washington Sudhana caught and bowled. Brilliant catch by Jofra Archer, a reflex catch. So what an impact he had in the morning. Then Kumar Reddy kind of stayed in for a while until he got a good ball from Chris Wokes, caught behind, and then you thought 112 for 8. England have got to win, surely. And it was 92% on various sites like Betfair saying, absolutely England are going to get this shortly. And I'm up in the box up there, and we're getting ready for the champagne at lunch. The champagne was on ice for 2.5 hours because after that, Bumrah hung around for 5 of 54 balls to get the score to 147, and then Siraj, of course, taking a few blows to the body and so on, but stuck it out himself for 30 balls to get it to 170. So in between those two, Bumrah and Siraj, they faced 84 balls for 9 runs, while Jadeja was just eking India closer and closer, and very excitingly and very cleverly, and he looked in total control.
He absolutely was, and a lot of credit to Siraj and Bumrah, because there's always been question of their batting abilities. There's a reason why you've got Washington and 8 and Kuldeep's not playing, because not enough faith in their batting abilities of the last 3 or 4 batters. So it is heartening to see, and also that fight, but it's just so pleasing for these young guys, talking about fighting it out there and taking it as close as possible, not giving up. These are good signs for this young Indian side, and especially for a young captain. Even though you are disappointed with the result, but you're also happy at the not happy, or at least pleased at the other end, looking at that fight back from India.
What did you think of India's tactics, Deep? They really did just set their stall out. There were times you're just going at 1 and over, and it, they really were playing the long game. It takes an enormous amount of discipline and drive to make that tactic work. And they got within 22 runs in the end, or 23 runs from winning the game. What did you think about it? Do you think at times they could have taken more of a risk? Because I think most people probably watching, I don't know whether you felt that, I kind of felt that there would be a ball with someone's name on it eventually. So do you try and do what, not quite what Stokes did at Headingley in 2019, where he just took it on right from the start with the last wicket and the last wicket partnership? What did you think? Do you think they could have been a bit more proactive?
See, the only challenge with Jadeja is he does not play those unorthodox T20 shots like the ramp shots and stuff. He's very traditional in the areas that he scores. And there were 7 fielders on the boundary. There were only 2 fielders close to the batter. So with 7 fielders on the boundary, and you're looking at Bumrah and Siraj, then if he gets out, it's definitely done for India. So I think he did well there to take it as deep as possible, and he also looked comfortable, because again, this series has been all about the new ball, right? The moment that new ball was 30 overs or 35 overs old, it stopped doing that much. And then what he did really well was pick up those singles. So 1 over, Ben Stokes got in the field in the 3rd delivery. And he stepped out and hit 1 over mid-wicket for a 6, then took a single the next ball, chipped it over, was a little lucky there. But then again, the field was spread from next over onwards. It was again spread over till the 5th ball or something. So I think, yes, he maybe could have been, but then looking at Jadeja and thinking of his scoring areas and the way he bats, I think he did all right that way.
An absolutely Herculean effort by Ben Stokes with the ball, who started the morning bowling from the nursery end and kept going till I think it was 20-1.
Yep.
So an hour and 40 minutes bowling with 1 drinks break, and he sustained his pace fantastically. He kept charging in, bowling, his run-ups halfway to the boundary or more even, and he kept coming in and bowling, and he wasn't bowling any slower balls or any kind of going through the motion type balls. He was bowling absolutely at full bore the whole time. Then couple of overs from Wokes from that end, then he's back on again. Stokes is back on again after lunch for practically the entire post-tea session. In the innings, 24 overs, 4 maidens, 3 for 48, 19 overs I think you worked out today, Simon, that Stokes bowled. And I mean, he just sustained his desire, his passion, his pace incredibly.
He was supposed to be reining it in, wasn't he? I mean, he was supposed to be, Ollie Pope was supposed to say to him, Ben, you can't bowl very much, and he comes out and does that. So 44 overs in the match, 5 for 101 with 8 maidens, and he was actually named player of the match. I was thinking, probably Joe Root might be player of the match because he scored the most runs on a tricky-ish pitch. But actually, Stokes made 77 runs, and he took 5 for 101. So
and that
brilliant run out, which both captains referred to at the end of the game as being absolutely crucial. Yeah. That saw off Rishabh Pant, because if Pant had stayed in for another hour or two.
It was 2. This is in the first innings. India first innings, and India were 240 odd for 3. Yeah. And going well, weren't they? And he ran out. Obviously, KL Rahul was looking solid. Pant was looking inventive, and then sort of out of nowhere, Stokes pulled off that run out. And I mean, it was destined for him to take the last wicket today, of course, because it's the 14th of July, 6 years ago, 2019 World Cup final. Stokes, of course, actually didn't hit the winning runs, but he hit the tying runs in the actual match.
He hit at least one of those 4s, which ended up helping England score.
Well, and he was in at the end, the actual, the official match before the super over, and he batted in the super over. Yeah. And I thought actually it was going to be uncanny that the 2 men who kind of decided the World Cup final, Archer and Stokes, would be bowling at the end and finishing India off. It didn't actually quite work out that, because Bashir got the final wicket.
Which is an amazing story in its own right, actually, wasn't it? Yeah. Because we all talked about this game. Look, England won the toss. They're going to set India something in the final innings. It's really hot. The ball's going to turn. Pressure on Bashir. And then, of course, he got his injury and he barely played in the match. But he came on. He bowled a few overs. He went off, came back on, bowled a few. And then, lo and behold, I mean, it was an agonising dismissal, wasn't it? I mean,
exactly. That was heartbreaking. That was absolutely heartbreaking. That dismissal, of all the ways. I mean, got behind or whatever it is, leg before ball, played on, and it wasn't a bad defensive shot either. He got behind the ball, played it nicely, and then within a few seconds, you see the ball trickling back and hitting the stumps.
So happiness for England, and they were ecstatic as they ran around. Obviously, misery for India. Do you know the happiest man on the ground today, apart from England and Ben Stokes?
MCC Chief Executive.
MCC Chief
I
Executive.
wonder why that is.
Do you know why?
Yeah.
When Bumrah defended a ball which took the match in the day into the 30th over, that was actually worth £250,000 to the MCC, because they didn't have to hand all the money back to all the ticket holders. If the game had lasted only 29 overs today, half the money for the tickets would have been handed back to the punters. So every time the innings lasted another 10 overs, that was about another 100 grand in MCC's coffers. But last word to you, Deep. India, obviously expected to win today. They didn't in the end. They came so close. It was absolutely compelling from start to finish. They fought tooth and nail. It's like playing the Australians. You have to prize every fingernail off the trophy, if you like. Well, England still haven't won the trophy, but they're 2-1 up.
Yeah.
How do India react to that?
Listen, we've got 7-8 days break between the two test matches. They will come back. They'll bounce back. That there's no two ways about. But the interesting bit is Jasprit Bumrah, because start of the series we kind of heard rumours that he's going to play the first, third and the fifth, and now that India's going to the fourth, 2-1 behind in the series, he has to play. The 8-day break between test match should be enough time for him to recover, because if India don't win the next one, then the fifth doesn't really matter. Then he can take a break for the fifth one.
But what happens if they win the next one and then it's tied going to the Oval? The temptation will be to play him there as well.
Absolutely, because there's not much cricket after that. He can take a long break after that. But again, fifth, we'll wait and see what happens for the fifth, or what's the series like when we reach there. But this is an important test match, the fourth one, going into 2-1 down. You've got to play Jasprit Bumrah.
Pant's going to be all right here as well, because he got damaged fingers, didn't he?
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so. But the other thing is, even if he's not up for as a keeper, then you've got Dhruv Jurel. And then at number 3, Karun Nair, he's got starts, but he hasn't looked convincing enough to be your number 3. And that is one spot which I think they might look at someone else, like a Sai Sudarshan. If not, if he can't keep wickets but can play as a batter, then Dhruv Jurel can come in. He can bat at number 3 as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's a good player. He scored crucial runs in one of those tests in India against England, didn't he? Yeah. I mean, he's a dedicated player. He's a very good keeper as well. So Pant could play as a batter, I suppose, if he wasn't able to keep.
Absolutely. If it comes to that, then I think anyways, then Dhruv can bat at 3. And Rishabh can play as a batter.
Yeah. Okay. And you'll be there, presumably.
Yes.
Well, we need to get you on the podcast regularly because it's just lovely to have an Indian perspective. So thank you. Commiserations, but it's still all to play for.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the best part, in start of the series, for me, the series was never going to be about the scoreline. It was always going to be about this young side, how it performs, how the young captain kind of find his groove as a leader, as a player. But there are so many positives. So, yeah, I mean, irrespective of what happens, this has been a really good series for this side.
And they should be proud of what they've done today. Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. So, thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you at Old Trafford.
Thank you. See you soon.
Cheers. Right, so time for the Betfair Exchange to debate an issue from the game. I think today we're going to talk about field settings and whether to put the field back all the time when a good player is batting with a tail ender to try and bowl at the tail ender. Stokes was very keen to do that today when Jadeja was facing, trying to have 4 balls where the field were right back and there was really nobody catching at all, and then for the last 2 balls of an over tried to keep Jadeja on strike so that the fast bowlers or the spinner could have the whole over at the number 10 or 11 the following over. It worked in a way, although they didn't get the wickets. And I suppose, funnily enough, I was sat with Mike Brearley today, the former England captain, up in the box, and I said, well, what do you think about that? And he said, I think that you should attack the good player more. You should force him into mistakes and put him under pressure and make him play an attacking shot, because otherwise those 4 balls, and we have talked about this before on the podcast, haven't we? Those 4 balls that you bowl to Jadeja are almost irrelevant. I mean, you are trying to get him out, but not quite in the same way as you would with a more attacking field. So they become almost irrelevant, and only those last 2 balls of the over become actually the time when the bowlers and the fielders focus. So it dragged the game out. I suppose you could say, well, if they brought the field in and Jadeja had hit a few boundaries, they might have got the runs. But you never know. but they might also got the edge and got him out.
Well, that's the gamble, isn't it? As a captain, what captains tend to be is quite conservative. Even Ben Stokes is quite an attacking captain, push the field back because they just say, look, we're going to play the long game, we're going to just prey on your patience. And it nearly worked for India today, but ultimately you can say, well, the tactic worked for England because they won the game. They took those last couple of wickets. They didn't get Jadeja out, they got the wickets at the other end, which is what they were looking to do because they were trying to get 10-11 on strike. And ultimately they got Bumrah on strike. He hit one to mid-on. Good catch by Sam Cook as well.
Yes,
imagine the pressure of that. You played one test match, didn't go particularly well. You're sub-fielding here, you're part of the squad, but you probably don't really feel part of it. But actually, a crucial catch. Anyway, and then they got Siraj out later on because they managed to get the number 11 on strike for long enough. I mean, it can be really tedious, I think. Not perhaps so much today because India was sort of inching forward and there's like a real tension in the day's play. So it didn't detract so much from the spectacle today, but it often does, doesn't it? At the end of a first innings or whatever, it can be really quite boring cricket. And I don't know, could you do something about it? And the thing is, in one day cricket, because you can't push the field back like you used to be able to do. You must have played in the 80s when everyone was back on the boundary. Then they had that circle, didn't they, to stop it happening. And in those days, it was really boring when everyone was back on the boundary. I think when it first started, there were people saying, you can't play cricket like this. This is not cricket, because there was nothing in the regulations to stop you doing it.
Mike Brearley actually put everybody back on the boundary, including a wicket keeper in an ODI in Australia.
Yeah, so they've stopped that in one-day international cricket and T20 cricket because it'd be great to have everyone on the boundary in certain situations, wouldn't it? But in Test cricket, you can do it. It generally makes it quite dull. But one of the things I noticed is that if you stop trying to get the in batter out, if that makes sense, the top class player who's still in there with the tail, if you try to stop them getting out, they actually, the pressure off them means they can relax and play nicely, and then they can be a real danger and cause some problems. So, and what could have happened, and I think on this surface, you might have found a situation where they got Jadeja out because there was enough in it. Like, for example, straight after lunch, Jofra Archer was bowling. So you bowl your main bowler, Jofra Archer, after lunch, but he's not really trying to get Jadeja out. But if he's running in trying to get Jadeja out with the field up, you've got a proper contest going on, and Jadeja's being challenged. You're right, he might get a few away, but he also might get caught in the ring, got caught a slip, or whatever, caught behind.
He might try and drive a ball, which perhaps wasn't quite there for the drive. So, because he sees the gaps. I mean, it's what often spinners do, isn't it, to leave a gap between sort of mid-off and cover to try and induce a batsman to drive against the spin, for instance. So I think probably where England got it slightly wrong was I don't think they varied it enough. I think they just stuck with that.
But once you start, you can't go back, really, can you?
Why can't you? Okay, so that hasn't worked. You do that you put the field back for 4 balls for 5 overs, and then if that doesn't work, you try something else.
Well, I think the point is that one of the problems with it is that the batter who's the main person, he's had a net for 5 overs, so he's really played himself in. He's feeling good. He's feeling confident.
So change things then. Change it around. Give him something else to think about rather than there's no one anywhere near the bat, so even if I miscue it, it's safe. You don't want a batter thinking that. And actually the bowler almost thinks, there's no close fielders here, so I might as well just sort of put it there, and you're not bowling with quite the same intensity.
No, you're right. It's energy sapping. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, you could change the tactic, but what often happens is captains just stick with it once they've started with it. I remember talking to Alistair Cook about this in a test match in 2014, famous game where England lost right at the end against Sri Lanka, where Matthews and Herath were batting in the third innings, and they put the field back, and it didn't work. And Matthews played a godlike innings, and Herath stayed with him. And he said once we started doing it, it felt like we couldn't go back and bring the field up because Matthews was so in and so dominant that he would have just hit us over the top. So that was his thinking about that. It's not a very exciting tactic, but captains go with it and they hope it works. And the proof, I suppose, today is the fact that ultimately England won the game. But it took a heck of a long time to work. But England had those runs, didn't they? And they knew it was going to take stretching the game out. They knew it was just going to prey on India's patience, and ultimately it worked. But I've really got to take your hat off to Jadeja. I just thought that was a fabulously determined effort just to play the long game. I don't think I've seen anyone, I can't remember a test match where I've seen anyone play a long game like that before, and Bumrah helped him and Siraj helped him, and I just sort of sensed at the end there would have been with England elation, but also like huge relief that they were able to get over the line. But fair play to them, they defended 92, which I didn't think they would do. I thought 190 on this pitch, like deep. I thought, yeah, that's not enough.
I think it's only 3 times now that's happened, isn't it? And one of those is against Ireland here at Lords, when England have defended under 200. Yeah. So it was impressive, actually. And, especially as they come into this game with 3 bowlers who've had injuries, Cars included. Yeah. And by the way, great effort from him as well. Jofra, didn't know how he would go through the game. He said
he was knackered at the end, but he said I was knackered, but I'm good to go at Old Trafford.
He looked good throughout, and obviously Stokes, who has had an injury cloud for a long time and bowled 44 overs in the match without any particular causing any alarms or anything. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it?
I'm sure Ben Stokes can sleep for a week after that, isn't he? I know I would. I mean, what 44 overs in the match?
Didn't he say after the Headingley test he didn't contribute anything at all to the world for about a week because he was so tired? Yeah, well, and this will be the same, probably worse.
Absolutely. Right, now, Jos, to round off today, 2 things. One, I'm going to congratulate you because you won our Dream 11 head-to-head, because you went for Root over Gill, you went for Siraj over Bashir. I thought Bashir might come into the game. Well, he did right at the end with a crucial wicket, but Siraj...
Have you had your glasses tested lately?
Picked up more wickets. Look, you did well. You beat me on that, okay? Go back on our Instagram and have a look at that if you want to. We did a head-to-head for each position in the game.
We can tot it up. I'll tot it up and, I'll award myself a glass or something, okay?
Well, you won that. You got more of those right. Although we had quite similar teams, but on the differences you won, and the main victory for you was Root over Shubman Gill.
There's a but here, isn't there?
There is a but, yeah, and that's the second point. On the podcast last night, people listened to that last night, and they'll be waiting for this today. You said, okay, just to end up, you said we were talking about bowled last night. You said you shouldn't get bowled, and I said to you, well, Yoz, in your career, if you didn't get people bowled, you wouldn't have taken many wickets. You said you were absolutely right. You said I took 400 of my 600 wickets bowled, so I got Andy Zaltzman onto it.
Right.
And surprise, surprise, Yoz, you were way off the mark. So you took 738 top level wickets. So that's first class cricket and also one day cricket, list day or whatever. You took 738 and you bowled 209, so half the number of people you said you bowled. You bowled.
I'm quite pleased with that, actually. 209 is all right.
Yeah, it's not. How
many LBW?
I didn't ask him that. You said bowled.
No, I didn't. I said bowled and LBW.
No, to start with, you said bowled, and he went, oh, LBW as well. So I just went for bowled. So 209. That was the discussion. You said I took 400 bowled. Oh, and then you kind of backtrack, but I'm not going to let you on the backtrack. There you go. 209 out of 738. Okay. So
a third.
No, half the number you said.
Well, a third in total. A third of the total.
Yeah, so it's still actually quite a lot. But anyway. Well, you exaggerate too much.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
Right.
But I will say a very important message at the end of this podcast is we talked about anniversaries. We talked about the 2019 14th of July. It's another big anniversary coming up next week, which of course is 20 years since the 2005 Ashes, and we spent quite a long time in a studio recording a 6-part podcast series all about the 2005 Ashes, to include interviews with all the leading participants in that series and some footage, including commentary as well. Been putting it together. First episode is out on Wednesday, and it's on the Crickverse, the Substack block, the Crickverse, spelt CRICVERSE. I'll put a link on the bottom of this podcast so you can find it. But please subscribe to the Crickverse, because we'll gradually unveil those episodes over the next week or so. And hopefully it's almost as exciting as the series was itself, or as exciting as this match today.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. We slogged through a day, didn't we, in a studio on a sweltering day outside when we probably wanted to be outside. Great memories of 20 years ago, and this game itself has created a great memory. So on to Old Trafford for the 4th Test match. It's been a brilliant series so far. And
to finish, or we should just say what the odds are now on the Betfair odds of England winning the series: 80% for England, and 12 to 14% for India, right?
Yeah, they're quite well, and the drawn series, because that's still a potential as well to have a drawn series, because you could have you could just have a draw, but you could also have a rain affected draw as well. And the last time, the only draw England have had, as we know, under Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum was a rain-affected draw at Old Trafford. Let's hope the rain stays away, although we probably could do with some because we haven't had that much recently. So look, England 2-1 up now. Good for their World Test Championship prospects as well, and good for a potentially morale-boosting series win before they go to Australia. But this Indian side, they've got something about them. It was a good analogy you said. It's a bit like playing Australia. They don't go quietly, and this Indian side haven't gone quietly in this series. And I mean, they could be 3-0 up, India, couldn't they?
Yes. And they're probably wondering why they're not. Actually.
Yeah. Anyway,
thank you, Lords, for a fantastic 5 days of an amazing weather. The pitch in the end worked out pretty well, and it was just a fantastic event with so much atmosphere, and the crowd obviously played their part as well, and so did both teams. It was, as you keep describing, an absolutely compelling arm wrestle from start to finish. So thank you very much for all of the listeners as well, and we'll be back during the week to preview the next Test match, and of course I said also unveiling those 6-part series about the 2005 Ashes on the Crickverse. So we'll see you later in the week.